Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of JHALAK. This is going to be a two-part conversation. And the main architect of what we're going to talk about is a Mohiniyattam dancer herself, but dancer turned organizer. I'm speaking of Divya Warier, Mumbai-based beauteous dancer. And she, during the pandemic, came up with the idea of cross-mentoring. I mean, taking a guru from one style and putting a student from another classical style together, mentor, mentee, and seeing how that process and the result develops. I find it a very exciting idea, but I have to also say that with a little bit of reservations. So I'm going to now invite Divya, because she is part of the Warrier Foundation that her father started 17 years ago, to tell us more about edition 2, season 2 of Pratiroop. Welcome, Divya Warier.
Namaskaram, Akka. Thank you so much for having me on JHALAK, and I'm very excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, first of all, congratulations, because most dancers just want to dance. They want to be in front of the camera, or in this case, in the pandemic, in front of their phones or their iPads or their computers. So it's really heartening to see another dancer from another generation, step back and make other creative moments possible. So congratulations for that, Divya. Now, when you are, crossing over Bharatanatyam with Mohiniyattam, or Kuchipudi with, Kathak, and that, there are lots of challenges, right? First of all, I tend to think of it as a bit of a fad, like a bit of a gimmick, okay? Because it's not really possible for a guru, anyone who comes from a certain classical style. Bharatanatyam has a certain root, like Mohiniyattam, Kathakali, Ottam, Tullal, Kudiyattam has another root. The cultural roots are very strong. Kathak has yet another, Kuchipudi has yet another, and Odissi, Manipuri, and vice versa. They're rooted in not just the geographical space, but also the language, the music, the rhythm, and the social cultural milieu. So in terms of trying to cross-mentor, my reservations are several, which accompany the excitement. So since we have a conversation, I think it's important for me to understand from you, what is the purpose of Pratiroop, season 1 and season 2? Tell me.
So initially the idea was when we see performances of different dance forms, we are touched by the artist who's performing, and sometimes we did not have the access to ask them and approach them for certain ideas, or to understand how their thought process in that particular art form, why a certain Ashtapati is weaved in a particular form in Odissi, whereas a different Ashtapati is weaved in a certain form in Mohiniyattam, or in the other different art forms. So my idea was, the vision of the mentors were so so unique and specific to that artist, and that is what I wanted to touch and reach across. Get the opportunity to understand their artistry, not try to imbibe the classical art form into mine, but to understand the vision of the artist, whether it is a Odissi artist or a Kuchipudi artist or a Bharatanatyam artist. So the vision is what I thought will help dancers from a different art form look at their own art form with a broader spectrum. So that was the idea that came into my mind, and that's how Pratiroop season 1 began.
So in season 2, obviously you're pushing it a little more, and you have the same formula. You have a guru or an established performer in one genre, and cross inspiring younger dancers, but also established dancers. I mean, these are not newbies. These are not teenagers. They're already in their 30s.
Yes,
so in a sense, you have a generation in the 50s and working with a generation in the 30s. They're actually very interesting generations. But I have a question, Divya. Sometimes I find it very useful to first dislocate the mentee, the dancer who's being mentored, by taking them away from their familiar language, their familiar music, their familiar rhythm, and giving them something completely new to work with, right? So in this instance, I suppose each artist is taking one of their favorite compositions, or a composition that has been mutually agreed upon by both mentor and mentee. How has the composition selection been done? How has that process been?
So here the importance is basically for the work in progress and the experience that the mentor and the mentee together, go through in this process, because both are a bit alien to each other. They're also understanding each other. So the topic or a composition is completely up to both of them. So sometimes, like last year we had abstract. There was no specific composition used. It was very abstract. I did a piece called Hidden Bee with Sharmila Didi. So all of us had our own way to approach it, and it was complete a mutual ideation process that happened as to what is something that excites the mentee as well as the mentor. So that was the link to choose the topic.
And Divya, tell me, since you've already been part of Pratiroop 1, when you're working with a guru that you cannot see, touch, and feel, and you're looking at somebody who's flattened out on this digital media, there are certain challenges, right? You really can't go full on, right? So tell me, what was the learning for you working with an Odissi established artist like Sharmila when you did Hidden Bee? What were some of the new or breakthrough kind of moments you had?
With Sharmila Didi, though I would say we had a very intense mentoring process. So I think the digital medium firstly helped me a lot, because I got that personal private time with her, which maybe if I was in her space with the other things that she's already multitasking, I wouldn't have got. So that way I think this digital medium worked magic, at least for me, because I got that dedicated 2.5 hours every session with her. Secondly, I think the process, the breakthrough that I learned from her is how to basically envision a particular production, to understand each and every aspect of the production, whether it is the lighting, whether it is how the music has to be composed, and then coming to the choreography and the other intricacies of dancing. So I think that is something which completely opened me up as an artist, and I cannot now look at my art form in any other way but in the holistic picture of a presentation, of a visual presentation. And plus with Sharmila Di, I must say, research. So I think the initial few days was only pure research. I must have written like 60-70 pages on Hidden Bee. So it was a lot of back-end research which helped me build the character. So that was amazing with her.
So I like the idea of doing these darker characters, or the not pretty heroine characters. So I'm looking forward to seeing your Hidden Bee in person sometime, somewhere. I want to know about how the funding comes for festivals like this. I know you will have a ticket, but ticket sales rarely cover, the production costs and everything. So how is the Warrier Foundation for the Arts funded?
So right now, frankly, Warrier Foundation is run by my father, and it's a family-run NGO. So most of the funds are our personal funds. But for Pratiroop specifically, it's the funds that I have made through my dance classes. So whatever classes that I take go into Warrior Foundation as a donation, and I have used that fund specifically to curate Pratiroop. So season 1 was also done on that tight budget, and so is season 2. So I am not taking any other funds from Warrier Foundation per se. These are the funds that is generated through the art, and I'm using it for the art.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that, because I keep telling young dancers and everybody else outside the world of dance that dance classes, if you're a dance teacher, it is a very good business model, because there is a way of attracting revenue which can then be put to other uses. Divya, finally, I want to ask you, what are your hopes for this season of Pratiroop, the second season of Pratiroop?
So, I mean, even when I spoke to all the mentees, and this year we had a selection process, we had more than 60, 70 artists who had applied, and it was a tough call to select a few of artists for this year's Pratiroop mentees. And that's why we have also added Anupama ji this year as the 6th mentor. Last year we only had 5. So when we envisioned it, I always told the mentees it's a lot about the process. This is the precious time that we get with the mentors, which otherwise it's not practically possible to get. So that is the most precious thing, that your time that you spend with the mentors for the process. Of course, there is going to be an end product, and we are all excited to see the end product. But for me as an organizer, we have the process videos that come out. So when we sit to edit the videos, we realize how beautiful a specific relationship is between the mentor and the mentee. And that is a learning we cannot get just by doing the final presentation. So I think the vision this year is that the mentees have really pushed themselves, thought about their vision and envisioned their piece with the help of the mentors, and they've been able to put up something that they would generally not think of putting up, to be in their comfortable zone, not in the comfort zone.
From the architect, ideator of Pratiroop Season 2, we move to the mentors. And I begin this edition with a beauteous Mohiniyattam dancer, Neena Prasad. Now, many of you may not know that Neena also learned Bharatnatyam. So she's my Guru Ben, because her Guru was also Padma Shri Adiyar Lakshman. So Neena, welcome to the JHALAK Conversations.
Thank you so much. Part of Pratiroop, I am very glad that I got an opportunity to connected with Anita Ka on the dais of Nartaki. I'm very glad that I'm sharing my experiences and ideas of this very novel program that is Pratiroop. Thank you, Akka. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Neena, I want to tell our audience with my opening question that you were a Bharatanatyam dancer, and your guru was my guru, Padma Shri Adiyar Lakshman, which means that you and I are actually Guru Bens.
Yes.
But with the knowledge of Bharatanatyam in your muscle memory, I know over that has been now only Mohiniyattam, but there is something there, I'm sure. So this must have been an advantage for you when you had Pavitra Bhatt, a Bharatanatyam dancer, as your mentee. Tell me about how you chose the composition from the Mahabharata.
This is like, first of all, as we have the same lineage, I have such a great person as in the lineage of Adiyar Lakshman sir having a conversation with me. Well, I describe myself as a Bharatanatyam dancer who turned to Mohiniyattam. So I still teach it, and still I am updated with everything. Well, Pavitra is a dancer who I have been looking. I've seen him several times. I know what he does and what is his speciality, what is his brilliance is all about. So when this opportunity came that we were meeting for this particular mentorship of Pratiroop, I asked him in the first phase to, come out with something which is not regular to him. because he's an artist with a lot of performity, in the sense everything is in a perform basis, and he's brilliant in it. I think, when we say about the body language, the pace of the art form, the guna of the art form, one is very rajatva, and one have this sattvic, perhaps more the vibrant, the environment a dancer makes when she performs. I felt that he should go into him. That is why amongst that I readily gave him a theme. I gave him different situations. Of that he selected this, because I have had this experience of doing Sakhyam, the eternal bonding between Krishna and Arjuna. So I said, why not you do the other part where what Krishna was going through during this phase of his final call. So that was it. He was interested in that, and he started researching over that. That's how it is.
But for you, Neena, as a very senior, national award-winning, internationally renowned Mohiniyattam scholar and performer, what has been your learning through this process?
Akka, basically, it is like this is the season 2. What I was opened up with an artist thinking, like when I was mentoring this girl from Odisha, Calcutta, who was basically doing Odissi, how she have understood a dance form and how is the regular thing she would be comfortable with. But then breaking the walls and taking to another world is a real good experience, because when you are with your students, it is like it is a regular thing. Okay, so even if my student goes to another scholar, that scholar will be opening another room. So that is a real experience, to bring somebody who is unknown to you in a regular basis and taking him and the apprehensions that would have, and sometimes, many a times, it will be something which is unknown to you, so unknown to me as well. So I will be thinking like how to sort that problems and the grammar, how to fit into the situation. Like last time it was like Rama is arriving from after his winning over of Ravana, and Kaikeyi is facing him. So how Rama would come? So Rama is entering the kingdom. Like so in that particular art form, how is it possible? So this is like the technical thing, and whether you should give a sloka or whether you should give what is the best in it. So such encountering each problem, that's a big learning process for me, because many times I'm also, my suggestions may not be like practical to them, or it may not have the art form qualities, maybe specialities in this. So maybe a Bharatanatyam artist would think that, okay, I will put this in Jati. So if I am asking why not a sloka, then he'll be like thinking in a different manner. So all these things would count. And for me, the end process, even while when you are telling about a presentation, it needs to have been done in a in a presentable way. You're presenting something. After all, you have a theater, performity linked with it, because this is a performing art. So now all these things are very interesting to me. I generally look into it, and this is an experience and a learning.
Okay. Thank you, Neena. Thank you for your time, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next artist is Anupama Kailash. Over the pandemic, she has been the emerging star. Her star has continued to rise. She is a scholar and a guru, much in demand for her very methodical, very precise articulation and knowledge of such a variety of subjects. I call her the chief PRO of Annamacharya, the brilliant 15th century Telugu composer. But today we are here in an episode of JHALAK, which is Pratiroop Season 2. And Anupama, who has a background in Kuchipudi and Telugu literature, is mentoring a Mohiniyattam artist. So Anupama, for me, the challenge, Kuchipudi has its own talikku, minute, pace, speed, a kind of verb and vivacity, a kind of naughtiness, all that is not necessarily present in the Mohiniyattam world.
Yes.
You know, the kinetic is an 8, it's very curved. And in Kuchipudi, it's like, you know, it's springing up and down. So what has been for you the challenge of trying to understand Mohiniyattam and this dancer?
So yes, it was a challenge in the beginning. I think right in the beginning, we really didn't know, how this whole thing is going to work, because the piece also that I had chosen was a Telugu piece. So it's a Prabandha from Amukta Malya that we had chosen. And but the only thing that, I felt was happening for me was the piece I had chosen it had a very slow khandam kind of a pace. So I somehow felt that will suit the kinesthetics or the dynamics of Mohiniyattam, because it will give the dancer, a scope to absorb my methodology, at the same time mold it into her own method. So because of the pace that we chose, it wasn't so difficult, but yes, the transition was definitely difficult because the method of storytelling is very different. So that transition was a little difficult, but I think, yes, we are getting into the groove of it now, slowly.
It's very interesting to have Mohiniyattam work with Telugu lyrics, because in Kerala, besides Malayalam, they tend to use only Sanskrit. And so those are the two languages that Mohiniyattam mostly works with. What about the music, Anupama? How have you used both the Carnatic style, or have you included the Sopanam style?
We have primarily used the Carnatic music style, but element of the Sopanam, actually, no, I won't really call it the Sopanam, but maybe a slower version, which is conducive to Mohiniyattam, because the boy who's composing it for her, my student also, he's also a Malayali, and he's also training in Mohiniyattam. So there is some understanding of it, and we are doing it as per, how what's best suitable to Mohiniyattam as well as the literary content. So we are trying to give it but it's primarily Carnatic music we are using, but a very slow pace, a very sedate pace, a very doable pace, a very liquid pace. That's what we are using for this.
And I like that, a liquid pace. I think it suits Mohiniyattam very well. And also for our audience, the Amukta Malyada is a 16th century composition written by the Emperor, the King Krishnadeva Raya, and it is on Andal and Vishnu.
Yes.
So to have that kind of, that in the background, what about the Nritta portions? Have you said that you can put a swara here or put a gentle jati here and sort of left it up to her?
Yes. So that's exactly what we've done, because each of these 6 verses that form this particular padyam, they are all independent in their connotations. So what she's doing is she's putting in, like a swaram, or she's putting in some solukattu and things like that, wherever, like, for example, there is something where there is an expansion of the spring season. So there she has a swaram there. So she's incorporating Nritta as preludes to most of the pieces. And especially when she shows Goda, in her element. So there she's putting in Nritta and the nature components and all this. So there is a lot of Nritta being incorporated within the, the text, not upon the text, but primarily in between the different verses. That's how we're doing it.
Anupama, do you like mentoring like this rather than teaching? And have you learned anything? Has there been a learning for you?
There has been a very big learning for me, because when we teach students of our own style, or even students who are familiar with our methodology, we automatically assume that they are understanding, what we are transferring that particular system of thought. But when you mentor somebody who's trained in a completely different, area, like how Vidya's trained in something totally different, initially it takes a little time to understand that, okay, this is not a methodology that they're used to. So let me, try to make it translatable to her so that there is no compromise. She's not compromising on the components of her style, and I am not compromising on what I want to get across. So that kind of thing, it was a little difficult in the beginning, but I'm enjoying the process because I'm also learning how to communicate with, people who have different methodologies of training. So it's teaching me a lot, definitely.
Thank you, Anupama. We look forward to the final product. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We now come to the incandescent Rama Vaidyanathan, who has not stopped dancing, I think, throughout the pandemic, except to pause for just a bit to enjoy the process of becoming a grandmother. So, Rama, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much, Akka.
And but now to Pratiroop, season 2. You're working with a Kathak artist, Sangeeta Chatterjee, and she's in the same city as you, in Delhi. So, have you made this purely digital, or are you also taking an opportunity to meet one another face to face?
Actually, Akka, all our meetings have been face to face.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we've just used this opportunity to meet face to face. We just had a few phone calls, while she was just discussing the topic and what she wanted to do. And the actual work actually she's been coming here to my studio, and we've been working here.
Now that's like a luxury now, for you to work across styles and also to have that mentee right in front of you. But Rama, you live in Delhi. You're not a stranger to all the styles that exists in the country's capital. But Kathak is so different from Bharatanatyam. Everything about it seems almost like an opposite. So tell me, what have you been able to urge or push Sangeeta to do? What have you done to push her beyond her comfort zone?
So what I've pushed her to do is to explore creating imageries, which I think Bharatanatyam form is extremely, extremely adept in, to create imageries with Angika Binaya and Mukha Binaya, specifically Mukha Binaya. And her topic itself is such that it's a very emotional topic, and it has got a huge scope for both kinds of abhinaya.
What is the topic, Rama? What is the piece?
Topic? Yeah, so the topic that she wanted to do was manthana, churning, because she said she went through that churning during the pandemic. The churning of her emotions, of her life, of her dance, everything. And how she emerged out of that churning. So that is the topic. And I have been urging her to create images, and to be a little more steady, because as we know, Kathak is beautiful, and it is the movements are like quicksilver. And so I thought we could use some of the image content of Bharatanatyam of being a little silent, being a little steady, being still. And I think this is what I've been pushing her to do.
Also, I think Kathak, we find it so erect. Have you been able to get her to sit down and do some sort of more stationary still? Because I love the way, imagery, yes, from Bharatanatyam. And yes, to have a Kathak dancer stay stiram in one place is a challenge, because the kind of Kathak we are seeing today is there's constant movement. But I'm also interested in the levels, of how an erect form gets broken up in a sense to maybe a lower level.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And she's been very, very open to it. And she's also very, very flexible. So I've been able to make her do, movements on the knees and stretch and murumandis and standing, mandalas, stretching. And, I told her, don't worry, whatever you do, it's only going to look like Kathak. because emotionally you're a Kathak dancer.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
don't we do things like that? Bharatanatyam dancers, we just stand and tap our feet sometimes.
Yeah. We don't have a problem. Bharatanatyam has no problem borrowing and being inspired by so many other forms. But one thing I'll tell you about Kathak. I saw one piece that Aditi had done in one of her new works about 3-4 years ago, in which she had adapted the Tadinganattum Adavu, Tadinganattum, and she made it Kathak. She just took it like this. She said, I like that movement in Bharatanatyam. I took it. So I was thinking, because it was not a Kathak movement, but the way she had woven it into her nritta, but I recognized it. So I asked her. So my question to you is, have you tried to make Sangeeta do something else, even with the nritta? It stays Kathak, yes, but different trajectories maybe, or different patterns maybe.
Yes, I have been. And I've also tried to bring in a little bit Korve kind of a pattern for her movement, a little bit of playing with rhythm differently, because they play with rhythm differently and we play with rhythm differently. And she's been open to that. And the minute the rhythm changes, your response, your body response to the rhythm also changes, So that was very interesting to see how she would do a typical Kathak Kapadan. And then when I introduced a Korve and how her movements changed completely and became a little more open and a little more still and a little more slow, a little more stretched. So I have been able to do that with her, and she really responded marvelously.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to this. But Rama, the larger question for you is, you're so comfortable teaching other Bharatanatyam students, mostly in your workshops, your dance pieces. But an experience like this, this could actually open up a whole different world for you, where you can actually reach across styles and reach across to students from other styles. Do you think that you have learned something from this cross-mentoring?
Absolutely. This year and the previous year of Pratiroop, where I mentored Pratiksha Kashi, Kuchipudi dancer. So I have learned so much, and it's incredible. It's incredible how much I learn from what they tell me. And my idea always was, I know I'm a mentor here. I'm not the teacher. So I didn't want to enforce my ideas on her. My job is to make her execute her ideas in the best possible and aesthetic manner that her dance style allows. So I wanted to guide her and kind of tell her what will work, what will not work. And the decision was hers. Not to tell her, you have to do this. And this is how I would have done it. I didn't want to do that because I'm the mentor here. So I wanted her ideas to come out, and I wanted her to explore and enrich herself through this.
So this is actually interesting because, it's a slippery area, mentor, guru. And sometimes the mentees go back to their areas of comfort. Like they'll take an idea from the mentor, but they find that they don't know how to push forward other than keep doing what they are comfortable doing. So I'm actually interested in those artists who are being mentored, in how they will actually really go to a little place of discomfort and then make a discovery. So for me, that is going to be what I'm going to expect, because I know the artist Sangeeta Chatterjee is. I know the artist Pavitra Bhatt is. I'm not so familiar with the third mentee. So when I see the two artists who I know the way they move normally, and I'm very excited to see how this Pratiroop idea actually manifests itself. But Rama, thank you for just continuing to be this amazing inspiration for your generation and for so many others, and with this global fan following that for you that's only growing. And I look forward to Pratiroop Season 2, and all the very best for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Akka. Thank you.
Thank you, Rama. And thank you all for watching. You've heard from both the architect, the series concept producer, Divya Warier, and the 3 mentors. Now, what I really hope we will see in Pratiroop Season 2 is more than just a fangirl, fanboy moment of these emerging artists. Well, they're not just emerging, they're emerged artists, well known in their own spheres. And they're this great opportunity they've had of working with such esteemed gurus. How really will this crossover or crossings of styles work? We are yet to see the final product, but it's good to have both encouragement and a little bit of a guarded questioning, because I think it is in these spaces that we can actually grow. Can styles actually merge? Can a guru of one actually convey and illuminate and enhance another style of a student maybe 20 years younger? So these are questions that are open-ended, and we will have to see what the final product really comes out as. Remember, we're still in this digital medium, and maybe if mentor and mentee are put together face-to-face in the same physical space, maybe the result will be quite different. But for now, we must congratulate Divya Warier and this lovely idea, and we wish Season 2 of Pratiroop all the very best. Join us for the next episode, but for now, it's thank you for watching. Namaste.